talking about the collections rate. It's going to be a hot topic in many of our South Florida communities as assessments go up.
Yeah, and that's what everybody's complaining about, of course, at the seminars. People are like in shock. But let's say that either in your condos, co-op, or HOA, a unit owner or a homeowner owes the association some money. How does the association collect what's owed, right? How is it done? And the procedure is the same for all three associations, okay? Karen, kick us off.
Okay. So if the owner fails to bring their account current within 30 days, the association must then provide the delinquent unit owner with another letter, which is a 45-day notice of its intent to file a lien and its intent to foreclose its lien.
Yeah, well, for the first letter that goes out, the association has to deliver the 30-day letter. We skipped there, Karen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. We skipped. The first letter that goes out is a 30-day written notice of the late assessments to the unit owner, right?
Right.
First letter, 30-day letter.
Okay.
Specifies the amount of money that's owed to the association, and you can't ask for attorney's fees. In that first letter, you can't ask for attorney's fees. The unit owner gets one shot. That's it in the beginning. You want to pay up? That's fantastic. Great, but you get one shot to do it, and it's without attorney's fees.
That's really key, because if you blow
that's right.
Then it's going to explode exponentially.
This is an offer you can't refuse.
That's exactly right.
The bottom line.
Or your brains are going to be on the contract. So if the owner fails to bring that account current in 30 days, then you're going to have all hell breaking loose, because the attorney's fees are going to spiral out of control, just as Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the association must then provide the delinquent unit owner with another letter, which is the 45-day
notice, right, of its intent to file a lien. So you blow the 30 days, your next letter, it's going to be a 45-day letter saying, we're going to file a lien on your property. Now the association can threaten to file the lien, and they can demand attorney's fees, interest, and late fees.
Man.
And now, here we go.
That's worse than the IRS.
Yeah, it is. It's starting to get expensive now. This is where it really starts kicking in.
But the IRS can't kick you out of your house. I don't
Well,
think.
they can.
Oh, my
yeah,
gosh.
believe it or not, they can.
And if the owner still fails to bring their account current, the attorney can now record that claim of lien and threaten to foreclose on the lien if their account is not brought current within 45 days.
Threatened to file a lien, and now
we're gonna.
Now we did, and here's where it really starts to get expensive. The association can now demand attorney's fees for preparing and filing that lien. They can get interest. They can get late fees. And, of course, if after 45 days the owner still fails to bring their account current, the association may file a foreclosure action in court. And now the delinquent owner owes several $1,000s, and now it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Now it's a real big problem for the owner.
If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. So
Yes.
how aggressive should associations be when trying to collect their past due assessments? I mean, do they actually ever get this money once it piles up?
Yeah, they do. Oftentimes we work out payment plans.
I was going to say.
Once it's in litigation. But, keep in mind, the unit owner...
Can't get blood out of a stone.
Right, that's true. Oftentimes that's the case. That's right.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that the unit owner has to receive a 30-day letter, a 45-day letter, and another 45-day letter. And it takes a long time to bring a delinquent unit owner into court. Look at all the letters that they have to get first. And that's why the associations have to rethink their collections process and start it a little earlier. Because if not, by the time it gets to court, it could be 10 months in.
Right.
With all these letters that we have to give the unit owner first before we're allowed to go to court. So, you have to, if you're an association, you may have to start rethinking your collection process and maybe do it a little earlier.
Yeah, do you think because of all this we're heading to a foreclosure crisis in Florida?
What do I think? You're afraid to say it because you don't want to scare the hell out of everybody. But
Well, no, you have to be honest.
We spoke about it a million times on the show, especially in condominium buildings, Karen. Think about what they're going through and about how tough it's about to get. And those associations, especially that are at least 6 stories, they have no money for reserves.
Yep.
Right? They didn't do their fire sprinkler system.
They're flying into a side of a mountain.
Yeah. There's now mandatory inspections, mandatory repairs, mandatory fire sprinklers or engineered life safety systems installation. The insurance, that's everybody's biggest complaint. Insurance has gone completely out of control, where it's typically tripled. The amount of money that a building is paying has now tripled. So if they were paying, $200,000 a year in insurance, they're now paying $600,000 a year in insurance. You now have to have mandatory reserve studies, and you put this all together. Tell me it's not absolute perfect storm.
It is.
In a condominium.
And it's gone exactly 180 degrees from when they first were telling people to move to Florida.
Right, exactly.
And get a condo, and it's less expensive.
You have a situation now when people are living paycheck to paycheck, and everything you read seems to say that, right? Yeah, I can tell you that I think a foreclosure crisis is coming. How can I say otherwise? How can I say otherwise? That
and then
foreclosure
I think
crisis isn't coming.
That'll happen, and once people get out of the building, developers will come in, knock down the old one, build a new one.
Yeah, or you're going to have a situation where
because who can afford to go in that building that needs so much repair?
Well, what's going to happen is developers get wind of what's going on in buildings,
right?
So they'll approach the building and say, okay, each of you were looking at an $80,000 special assessment, right? You can't afford it, most of you. So how about I'll be willing to take the building off your hands if everybody's willing to sell their unit to me for X. So instead of coming out of your pocket $80,000 now, I'll give you X for your unit. The developer accumulates enough units. And I'll tell you where sometimes unit owners get in trouble. They think, well, I'll be the tough guy. I'll hold out to the end. That'll show you. And typically that's the person that gets the least. Okay? Oh, that's the person that gets the least.
That's interesting.
Yeah, in many a situation, that's the person that gets the least. So a lot, and I mean a lot, to think about.
Yeah.
If you are in a condo association, especially if your building is 30 years old or more, especially if you have no reserves, a lot to think about.
Just move out and knock it down.
Yeah, your building has to get ahead of this. Your building really needs to talk to a counsel, quite frankly, who can guide you through this, perhaps, and a bank who may be able to help guide you through this as well.
I mean, so there's really no one policing all of this stuff?
Now, that's a great question that people have asked.
What happens if
meetings.
The building then collapses and they haven't done anything about it?
Okay. This is a great question. Suppose what you're asking me, in effect, is suppose we just ignore all this.
Yeah.
Forget about it. We're not doing the inspections. We're not doing
the
mandatory reserves. No.
Are they armed?
And the answer to that is no.
No.
The DBPR has nothing to do with this. But here's what the law says. For directors, it's a breach of your fiduciary duty owed to the directors owed to the association if you fail to do any of this. So what does it mean? You could be held personally liable.
Okay, so first of all, they're not making any money. How can they be a fiduciary?
If, God forbid, something happens and because they failed to do something,
it's their duty.
And there's fiduciary duty. It could be on them specifically, individually on each director.
I don't understand how that can be. I mean, you're going to blame one guy for a whole building?
But here's the funny part. The funny part is that it's a clear breach of their fiduciary duty. They put it in the statute that it's a clear breach of their fiduciary duty, right? Yet, and they make a mandate for you to know the laws, right?
Yeah.
Yet they took out the requirement to learn the law.
Oh, right.
The educational component of the law they took out.
But it's a duty, so that sounds like it's civil.
It wouldn't
be criminal.
You can be right. It's nothing criminal. As a matter of fact, it's really, in a sense, self-policed.
Yeah. So you breached your duty.
Right.
So then what? Who's going to...
So a unit owner, if you get that one unit owner in the building who doesn't want this to happen or doesn't want their building to potentially collapse, right? Because we now know buildings can collapse.
Yes.
And that unit owner does not want to have that type of
But that
situation.
unit owner is not going to be there like, we need to pay more money. I'm going to sue you.
Some, believe it or not, are.
Oh.
Some are. But so it's self-police. So what does the law say? Now that unit owner can bring you, get this, not to court. They can't even bring you to court. They have to bring you to pre-suit mediation first.
Oh, that sounds very scary and threatening.
Even though the building is falling down, right, you have to go to a mediator first. And if mediation blows up...
And that's what you do.
Yes, that's what I do. And then if mediation blows up, only then can you go to court.
Well, now, I don't think your prediction about foreclosure is going to happen because I just think people are just going to go, we can't afford it and we're not going to do it.
Right. But I think that would be a bad posture to take because no matter what, your insurance is going to go skyrocketing anyway. There's still going to be things out of your control somewhat. And I do believe
what happens if they don't insure it?
Let me tell you something. We're dealing with
there's
all
a lot.
These new
there's a lot that aren't insuring it.
I have a client at Century Village who said, "We don't want to insure it anymore.
That's right.
That's it. We're done." And I'm like,
Then what?
The statute only says that the board members have to use their best efforts
There you go.
to get insurance, whatever the hell that means.
Well, we tried and we couldn't afford it.
And that's the position they're taking. So I said, okay, are you willing to amend your governing documents to say we don't have to insure? Damn right we are. Nobody has a mortgage in the building. They're all elderly people. We don't want to pay for this insurance. So it's not mandatory. It's not like we have a mortgage and our lenders are requiring it. We want no insurance.
The boards acquiesce with the documents.
Well,
who cares?
Here, we're going to remove most documents have a provision in it that requires the board to get insurance. All the unit owners are willing to have it removed.
Of course they are.
Yes. So
yes.
We're gone down paths that we've never gone down before. And then, God forbid, there's no insurance on the building and a storm really does hit. There's been buildings in Fort Lauderdale completely blown out, A through Z, where 55 over members live. And picture a situation where there's no insurance in that building. So everybody just lost everything. So, it's a balancing test.
When you don't have anything and you can't afford to pay the insurance,
yes, right.
That's a gamble
but
you
you're going to potentially lose your unit.
Your home.